What's up, guys? Want to take a moment to answer some questions and cover some popular topics that I've been getting: anabolic steroids. First of all, I think that anytime you're going to consider anabolic steroids or supplements, you guys got to ask yourselves, what have I done thus far? How far have I gotten? What have I done? What more can I do, right? So I know everyone's got a different story. Some guys start taking steroids the day after they start training. Some guys take a few months. Some guys take a few years. Everyone has their own story, their own reasons. But I definitely do think that you guys should turn over every stone, every rock possible, ask every question, and deplete every resource, read, study, and put it into practice before you ever think about taking anabolic steroids. Why? Well, I'll tell you this. There's many reasons, but first and foremost, it's good to learn, right? So a lot of times when guys get in the gym and they take a supplement or steroid or something that's just making them bigger and stronger and grow, they don't find the need to read and research and such, In the early years when I started training, I was training my ass off. I was working as hard as I could. And I was like, looking at a picture of Arnold training, And I was like, you know what? I'm not really getting close to looking like this. We're talking about months and years. But because I wasn't making crazy gains overnight, it made me smarter. Now listen to this carefully. This isn't like some cop-out answer. I was getting smarter and smarter because I had to research and learn. I researched dieting and styles of training. I've always had a theory, like, don't ask the genetic freak how to get a freaky back, the guy with the best back in the gym, the guy with the freaky chest. Like, people go ask Arnold, how do you get a wide chest? Well, go ask the top elite bodybuilder that has a weak body point, right? Because obviously this guy is serious about what he does. He's not a gym rat, right? He's a professional bodybuilder. And if he's trying to be the best he can and be competitive, he's going to be reading and asking as many questions as possible about how to bring up a weak body part. So go pick a top athlete, pro bodybuilder that has a lagging body part and go ask him how to grow it, right? And you might think, well, he doesn't have good legs or he doesn't have a good back. Why would I ask him? Because he has a plethora of information. Whereas the guy with the freaky back genetically and the freaky arms, he didn't need to research. He didn't need to ask questions. He didn't need to find out what type of training is the best or high carb day on arm day or not, because the guy had freaky arms from day one. That's really, really an important fact that I've thought about over the years. And I always see all the time young guys going up to, or not even young guys, everyone going up to the guy with the freaky chest and asking him, how he built that chest. So keep that in mind when you guys are thinking about that. But when you start out training, I think it's very, very important to stay natural for many years. If you ask me how many years, well, it depends on the individual. It depends how far you want to take it. I would say, you can't ask me because you guys know my story and how long I was natural and what I did and how far I got. So I would say minimum 5 years. And then even then, I would ask yourself why. Why are you going to take it to the next level? Do you think you have what it takes to be a pro? Do you think you have what it takes to be one of the best in the world? And then even then, ask yourself why. A lot of guys think that they're just going to turn pro or do some shows and become like super famous and super rich, And I think if you're doing it for those reasons, you're doing it for the wrong reason. I got into bodybuilding at an early age just out of love and passion. There were no trophies being handed out because I wasn't competing. There was no likes and social media fame because there was no social media back then. So ask yourself that. Now, that being said, in the beginning, you guys that are starting out should be reading and studying all different types of training and practicing it, right? Like, is it better to do high volume? Is it better to do a 4-day split, a 2-day split? Can I hit each muscle 2-3 times in a week? Try it. Don't take other people's opinions. One thing about training that I always have a hard time telling people and giving advice is I can write out a training routine for you. I can write out a training routine for that guy. And I can give you guys my opinion on what's the best type of split. But it doesn't mean shit because out of 3 of us doing the same split, we're all going to apply different intensity. Like some guys tell me like training a muscle once every 7 or 8 days isn't enough for them. Well, I say they're not training hard enough. They're not training with much intensity. Also, depending on of course, how much you're eating, how much you're sleeping, but depending on where you are in your bodybuilding career, right? So I'm a big believer of high intensity, blunt force trauma, not a lot of volume, not a lot of reps and sets, but heavy, intense weight. Well, I did this for like 17, 18 years. Now I lift fairly heavy, but I don't lift 4 to 6 reps because for me to lift 4 to 6 reps, the weight is so high, it's a little bit dangerous for me. And I have some bumps and bruises, right? Because I'm not in my first 10, 15 years. I'm 27 years into lifting weights. So there's a lot of things to take in consideration. You know, you see a massive guy working out with weights that aren't as heavy and you're thinking, oh, I lift heavier than him. Yeah, but you didn't see what he did to get to that size. So there's so many variables. Another main thing about getting on steroids early on, that this is just a fact, but I've seen it firsthand, is when you train on steroids or off, natural or enhanced, your muscles grow and your ligaments and tendons grow as well, but not at the same pace. So guys that grow, their strength grows really, really fast in a short period of time on anabolics, for instance, they're more likely to injure themselves and have ligament and joint issues, you know? So knock on wood, I do have some bumps and bruises, but knock on wood, I don't have any major injuries. And I think one of the main reasons is because I started at such an early age and I slowly increased my strength on a natural, not too crazy curve. I didn't just go from like benching 135 pounds to like 315 in a few months. I've seen that happen all the time. And if you think about it, like you look at a Ronnie Coleman or a Kai Green, these guys were phenomenal naturally. They stayed natural for a good amount of years until they started getting really big, really freaky, and really strong. So patience is a virtue, and if you guys don't want to be patient, then you're not true bodybuilders, because bodybuilding is a sport of patience. I've never met any bodybuilder that told me they want to look like a god for only like 2 years, you know? We want to look good all the time. I don't want to just look great and freaky a few years that I'm competing and then just go to shit and like not be able to lift and be in pain. That's one thing that is important to me, but also as I've gotten older, like I'm a little bit more conscious to that. I'm more careful with training. I'm very healthy with my diet and food. I don't eat like a lot of crap and processed shit. So I believe I can look phenomenal at 50, 60 years old, and I want to look good and be healthy at that age. So that's another big factor. The way I see it is if when you're taking supplements or you're taking anabolic steroids, you want to get the most amount out of that, right? You don't want to half-ass anything. Like if you guys ever get on your cycle months before, plan out your life for the next few months. Make sure you're not going to miss a meal. Make sure you're not going to miss a gym workout. Make sure you don't have any major events coming up or travel. I mean, I would think that in depth, and I would be that OCD on the topic, because you want to get the most out of it as you can. You don't want to dilly-dally. These are a couple little tips, couple things I had in mind, couple things you guys have been asking me. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys are staying healthy. Stay safe, guys. Till next time.